Okay, welcome to One Stop Co-op Shop. We are here with another co-op chat. I'm here with Bairnt as always.
Woo! Co-op chat time. This is about as fun as, well, I can't think about anything more fun than this.
Sure you could.
No, it definitely wasn't our Fuse game we played last night. I introduced Fuse to a friend of mine, or a friend of mine and my wife, and we sadly did not defuse any bombs. We all blew up about every time we played, but we had a good time. That's
how
all that
many
matters.
how many bombs did you blow up?
Well, oh my gosh, we didn't even so we played with 24 bombs in a three-player game, and we didn't the deck itself didn't run out onto the table. Like, so in case people haven't played this game, if there's a deck of cards, you've got to resolve these bombs with dice, and it's a really fun game. You have 10 minutes to do it, so it's a fast, quick game too. And once you get all the cards off the table, you win. Well, we didn't get the cards we didn't get the cards onto the table from the deck before we all blew up. So there's a lot of bombs left.
A lot of bombs. Fair enough. Hey, good afternoon, Snow. Thanks for joining us. Always happy to see you here. So, yes, if you're joining us for the first time, this is Co-op Chat. This is a weekly discussion where we cover some upcoming game news, and we just have it's just open live chat. Really, we normally have a topic to discuss, but we go off the rails. So this is the whatever you guys want to discuss, let's do it. So, and yes, it looks like Snow also agrees that Fuse is fun. I do like the game. That's a fun one. That's one we should talk about because that'd
Yeah,
be another one to spotlight for an older game that people might have forgotten about.
yeah, we can talk about real-time games.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, let's jump into news. I only have two games and one more I'll just mention. But yeah, we focus on the cooperative upcoming games in this one. Oh, actually, you know what? We could also talk about the Fantasy Flight stuff too at some point and the
No,
Gen Con stuff.
we did a big stream on it, but we could kind of give it a little recap if you wanted to.
Yeah, we could do a recap. I don't. Yeah, we don't have to go through all the details of that. So, okay. So here we go. Let's talk about the first one I have, The Light in the Mist. This is a tarot size puzzle card game, and you can think of it as an escape room game, is how I read it. But this one sounds like it's a bigger escape room. It sounds like it's like 5 hours worth of play, as opposed to like most escape rooms are like hour or less, generally, I would say. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but looks like it's going to have some really awesome artwork on the giant cards. And if you like escape rooms, definitely check this one out. This one is coming to Kickstarter this week. I think it's going to be Tuesday.
I'll be back in it. My wife loves a good escape room game, and I do too.
Sweet. I was curious about the tarot size too. Like I don't know if they can like use that to their advantage or not in this game, or if it's just because they want to show like big artwork or something on it. But
What are the size of the cards for unlock? Are they just regular size or are they tarot?
I forget. I have one near me, but I'll have to fetch it. Yeah, that's a good question. Those might be tarot.
And so maybe that's just they're just using the same thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got another game. It looks like.
So Snow says this is one I am cautiously interested in because it's a puzzle and theoretically you can use the cards for other tarot-based games because it's a standard deck. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
a little fun tidbit is when I was growing up, I loved the thought of a tarot deck. Not that I thought it was necessarily real or whatever, but like the fact that like oh cool I could tell you future from these cards would be kind of fun. So I always was looking for tarot decks, but they're always so expensive, so I never actually wanted buying one. But
Oh, I found a couple pretty cheap. But so I lived in India for a year when I was in high school as a foreign exchange student, and there was a girl at my school that was really into that stuff. So she actually picked up like a book on how to read tarot cards and
oh
like actually.
cool,
And it was kind of it was fun. I didn't really get obviously too into it, but it was like really cool to kind of see the concept behind how it all worked and everything. But she was really into it. She liked to do that for people and stuff. It was like really cool.
cool, yeah, that's fun. Okay, that's the first game. Let's jump on to the next one on the list here. It is going to be a bigger one. The Artisans of Splendid Vale. This one's coming Tuesday, and this is a giant game. Like the box, I've seen pictures of the box, it's huge. So, this is, surprise, surprise, another adventure narrative game. So, because I don't think we've had a few of those yet, have we? this
I
year?
think I think it's been like three in like a couple like last month.
I know there's so many of them. So
I'm
many
gonna,
of them.
be all storied out by the time those all shipped to me in a year or two or three or four, or five, whenever the shipping logistics ends. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, interesting. Real quick, Snow had an interesting comment here. It says, well, there are also two types of tarot decks. One that's focused on fortune telling. That's one I keep thinking of.
Yeah.
Which has words for suits and numbers and stuff like that. And then one for normal, or deck of playing cards that has normal suits. That's cool.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So it's like extended 52 card deck. That's interesting. Thanks, Snow. I didn't know
Hmm.
about that. Cool.
Now you know, and is half the battle. GI Joe.
G.I. Joe. You get the rainbow, whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Artisans of Splendid Veil. So this is it sounds like a really cool story. So the narrative aspect of it, apparently there's like this red meteor hit the ground, and when people were nearby this, they found out that when they did crafting or creation of some kind, it took less time to do it. And so it was like if you were near this magical source, meteor source, it was easier to build stuff. And so you're in this magical world and going on these narrative adventures. I don't know exactly what it is. It sounds like you have different characters. Each character can have a different story with branching paths. I'm not entirely sure on that. We'll get more information when it launches. But yeah, this is a massive game by Renegade. It is 2 to 4. Yeah, 2 to 4 players.
You got me on massive game, meteor, and narrative.
Meteor, yes, red glowing
Totally.
meteors.
I'm going to be backing this game. I just found out I'm backing 2 games. You know, that's one of the best things about this co-op chat that could also be a curse. So Steve tells me about all these cool games, like I didn't even know about that game, and I go back.
I have been tempted to, instead of doing, hey, this was coming this week, to do a look back, because that way we have more information, because all this is available now. Like the week after it comes out, we cover it too. I don't know, guys. If you guys are interested in that type of stuff, let me
Yeah,
know. But
you can do like a recap saying like, remember the when I talked about this game? Here's a couple other things I found out about it, or like, hey,
yeah,
remember this game? It's really exactly like I said. Who knows? That wouldn't be a bad idea. What do people think? You guys let us know in the comments.
yeah. Looks like Snow says, yeah, each character has its own story book. Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Oh, a book. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think they each have different narrative paths, and I'm guessing that each character probably has like points which they merge to. Benno says, I missed the beginning. What is Machina Arcana? You did not miss that yet. We're going to talk about that in a second here.
Don't
But
worry, you get to
basically,
listen to me soon.
yeah, exactly. Um, and Snow says she sounds like a great idea to do a recap going backwards. So
We'll have to think about that. We'll have to make it work.
yeah, cool. There is another game that I don't have prepped here. I just want to mention audio wise, but Stuff of Legends. It's listed as a co-op game. It's 3 to 6 players, and it's basically this boy was abducted by the boogeyman, and your stuffed animal's trying to save him. Like, cool, co-op game. And as I read further and further, it sounds like at some point you could become a trader. So I didn't list it here because I know we try to cover like full co-op games, and sometimes in those games the trader element is optional, and I couldn't tell if it was optional or not. But I want to mention that it is co-op, but maybe with a trader, we don't really know.
Kind of like House on the Hill type concept, where you all kind of work together until something happens or something. Is that kind of what it seems like?
That's what it sounded like, but
Okay.
sometimes you can play those games without the trader element, like Shadows of Camelot, right? You can play that one full co-op, for example, even though or with the trader. So I don't know, but it's another one that's launching this week that I wanted to mention briefly. So okay, yeah, Snow says, oh, so it's co-op, but you can ditch your friends. Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. So yeah, that's another interesting topic. Like, what do you think is co-op? And I know we've had
Yeah.
these chats on the server, and I
Mhm.
think most of the one-stop crew aligns to the concept of full co-op, meaning that we all have a win condition that is shared, right?
Yeah. And I might be one of the only outliers where I don't mind semi co-op
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I think it's still kind of fun. I mean, I have to because Nemesis is amazing. So but of course there is a way of playing completely co-op, which is normally what I do. But I do have some friends that do like the semi co-op. We like to kind of poke at each other and things like that around the table, which is kind
Yeah,
of fun.
I played that one both. I believe I played both co-op and semi-co-op. So, but yeah,
Co-op is impossible.
It's the game to play with soon-to-be former friends. Semi-co-ops, yes, backstab each other traitors. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to the next thing we want to talk about. So,
One of my top 10 games of all time is what
oh
this is.
yeah, yeah. So
I
this is Benno. This is what you did miss. This is Machina Arcana, and
Yes,
Bairnt is all about this game. So go ahead, Bairnt.
game's awesome. It's funny actually. I got a comment on my top 10 games of 2019 yesterday when before we talked about it. One roast, and I got a comment that said no Machina Arcana or Machina Arcana or whatever. I'm sorry if I pronounce it like 3 different ways normally. And I had actually read like, you know what? Actually, I didn't get that game until a week after I did the video, so I didn't have like a way of putting it on there. But of course, this probably would easily make my top 10 now. This is a brutal dungeon crawler. I like to classify it as. It's not a dungeon crawler. It's a brutal dungeon crawler. Your you pick characters. They all have 4 different types of characters, and those 4 characters align with what you have ability to type of item to be able to free equip. On top of that, most of the time you're aligned with a certain type of combat style, and you're put inside one of the scenarios that you decide to choose. Uh, One of the things that I wish would happen, but it doesn't, is it's not a fully campaign type thing. Each scenario is its own deal, which I could totally understand because as you're getting items and weapons and stuff from these decks, you could get this amazingly powerful weapon. If you could take it through all the things, it'd be just ridiculous. So, oh, it's also a puzzly game in the dungeon where everything is out to kill you, as Snow says. This is also a very good way to classify the game. It's very puzzly because the only luck in the game is a very is a set of dice that are usually like 1 to 2 or 0 to 2 or 0 to 3 pips on them. So it's a very small amount of luck chance in there. So you kind of know what you're getting into when you see these. Some of the mechanics that I think are really cool in this game is the moving board. It's not just a sprawling map that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's always just this 4x4 or 2x2 grid. And if you ever move off that grid, the map shifts and it just keeps shifting. You leave things in the dark and they disappear from your sight. They disappear from the game, which is kind of a cool concept. There is like a horror phase where you're drawing cards that can affect the monsters or yourself. The other cool thing about this is each map is different, and there's not just like, oh, hey, you're going to start on map tile A4. No, it's random. Everything, the tiles even start on the tiles that appear are random, which is pretty cool. So you have to like think on your feet a lot of times when you go to the next map tile. And then you have to decide kind of how you want to tackle that map tile as you're trying to progress through these different objectives in the or not the campaign, but your scenario that you're trying to deal with. And then most of the time, the last one is its own board because it's setting up this final fight or this final thing you have to deal with. Snow apparently loves the traps in this game and pushing stuff into pits. This is true. These are some of the mechanics that you don't normally see in dungeon crawlers that are actually you're trying to do in this game because the exploding barrels and can do a lot of damage to these things. The uh, pits just kill off monsters, which is great. One of the tricks that I learned while I was playing the game was there's a monster that actually appears where a monster last died. Well, if you can get the monster to die in the pit, he appears in the pit and dies as well. So you could 2 birds with 1 stone. And the funny thing about that is that the guy that does this is actually a bird. So, but it's a really fun game. But it is brutal and it's really tough. I'm not sure what else I could really say about it that it needs to be you need to try it to really enjoy it. There is no miniatures, it's all standees, which works just fine for this game. It is quick to get to the table. I know it sounds weird for a dungeon crawler, but for a dungeon crawler it gets to the table pretty fast. All you do is you take your set of mission cards you're doing, you put out the different item cards, you grab the character you want, you put them down, you just grab a board, put it on the thing, and then that board of course has all the different things you can do on it, and it has them highlighted, and depending on how much, then you have a stamina total that you're using. Whatever stamina you decide to use, you can use it to not only move, but you can use the spaces on the board, or you can attack as well. Oh yes, Snow has reminded me there are doors you can shut, which I have used. It's a very powerful mechanism because you can shut the door on the monster, and then he can't get to you, which in this game is fantastic. Another thing that's interesting about this game is when you attack or get attacked, you're not rolling damage or anything. Every hit is just 1 damage, unless some rule or a card says otherwise, which is a unique system because most times, like, oh, I get hit, let's see how much damage I take. Oh, I took 4 damage. Oh, darn, like kind of thing. This is just you get hit, you take a damage. It's a nice, simple way to do it. Of course, you don't have a lot of damage, so watch out.
Right.
Player elimination is in this game, though it does say that if that happens, that is encouraged that that person then takes over the monsters, which is one way to do it. And it seems pretty common in a lot of co-op dungeon crawler horror-y type games that the person, like, I just did a thing about legendary encounters alien. If you die, the person kind of takes on the role of the alien. They can if they want to. So it's fun that they at least have that ability. In Kingdom Death Monster, they encourage the person to take over the monster, things like that. But most of the time, if you're dying in this game, you're probably you're so close to death, you're not going to last too much longer. And I think there's, I could be wrong, so Noel maybe help me with this one. I think there's 3 scenarios in the base game, and then there's some couple expansion scenarios as well. So there is some, and the replayability is pretty decent in this game because there's an absolute mountain of weapons items. There's an absolute mountain of horror cards and adventure cards, I think is what they're called, that can come out. The adventure cards are the opposite of horror cards. They can help you when you get to these space. Of course, you have to use some of your stamina to be able to trigger these different encounters to happen, like in order to draw that card or to get items. You can check in chests, and so it's a really, really fun game. They are about to release, I think it's going to be shipping soon, the Machina Arcana 3rd edition, and the designer of the game actually reached out to me, and after I pledged for the upcoming material that would make my 2.0 game a 3.0 game, he actually reached out and included the actual 3.0 base game. He wanted me to do an unboxing of it to show kind of what the difference between the two are. So I'll be getting the whole gambit of this game again, be able to show people kind of what's coming out. And I will say that I'm going to be doing his unboxing exactly the way he did his unboxing. It was the best unboxing I have ever seen in my entire life. The guy came in, sat down. I'm never going to spoil it for some people, but if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on his website. But he sits down and he takes like this glass of wine and he goes, I would like to thank everybody for this. And then he takes a drink of the wine and he picks up the scissors or the knife with this big box. And the big box here, he takes this knife, just goes, God! Stabs it like right in the box. I just, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh! And of course, he had already taken everything out of the box. It was just an empty box sitting there, but I didn't even think of that. It just blew my mind. It's like, that was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time when it came to unboxing. He just took his knife and just stabbed it right into the box. Oh, it was great. But anyway, so it is coming, and I'm actually going to be doing unboxing and another complete playthrough of this game because it's a lot of fun. Every time I play it, I really have a lot of fun. It is really tough, and I think this is a really good game to talk about when we want to talk about alpha gaming, which is kind of going to be our topic for today, because this game is so challenging. I actually saw a review a while ago about this where he was talking about how challenging this game is, and if you've never played this game before and you have somebody that's kind of teaching you the game, in order to really get through this game, a lot of times it can be very alpha gamed because there might only be one optimal path to really get you to the next place, because this game is so tough and so dangerous that when it comes to what should I take as an item, oh, you need to take this because it's what, okay, well, then I'm going to go over here. No, don't go over there because this guy's going to be able to. So there's a lot of, it could be easily heavily alpha because there isn't any hidden information. You don't have decks of cards. You don't have things like that. So this is a really good game to talk about because in order to get through it, I mean, I don't alpha game it. I don't mind us losing. So my friend would be like, do you think it'd be okay to go over here? Yeah, sure. Go give it a shot. See what happens. He's like, oh, that wasn't very good. No, it was not very good. I want to experience what would happen if you get knocked into a pit. How was that? Or the trap triggering on top of you, because the trap is like, sometimes the traps can be like the whole half of the board, and if you trigger the trap, all of a sudden you're doing all the damage to all these people, the monsters, but also yourself. You're standing on the trap. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and hit this guy. I'm like, are you sure? I was gonna trigger the trap, but oh, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah, Snow
I've got a lot of stuff. I'm sure I have maybe missed a lot of stuff. I'm sure.
Oh no, you guys are doing good. I'm having a fun time because Snow's also just like loves this game as well. Just
yes,
agreeing with what you're saying. You guys having fun. It's fun to see two people love a game so much. Like, I've not played this one, so I don't have a whole lot to say on this one yet. But
that's
it sounds
okay.
really fun.
make him do it. I'm gonna make it. Last time he came, I made him play Madara. This time, I'm gonna make him play this game. Next time, it might not be next year, but when I do get to see Peter, or not Peter, you're Steve. I get you all mixed up. I'm gonna make him play this.
Well, we do have Extra Life coming up. We can make that a thing.
That's right. Who did I think I made? Did I make Colin and Terrence play it last time?
Correct. Correct.
So yeah, maybe I'll make you play it this time.
Correct.
You and I will do a game of it.
Yeah, just a little preview for everyone that I am working on planning for Extra Life. We did that last year. We're gonna be doing it again this year. And Extra Life is a fundraising event for children's hospitals. So we're gonna be raising some money, and all the proceeds go to the children's hospital. And then generally what it is we do not a full day because it's a big commitment, but we'll do like pretty much all the One Stop crew will be doing playthroughs throughout the day. So. Yes, yeah. Number 4 on Snow's top 20 list. That's awesome.
I think that's probably about where it's on mine too. I think it's about in that area.
That's awesome. I need to try this one.
That's definitely top 5. I need to remake. I did a video in 2019, like my favorite games on my channel. So I think I need to redo it because I think I got a couple more games on the channel that might actually squeak out some of those.
Cool. Yeah, let's transition into the alpha gaming topic a little bit more. So
yeah, because I don't really experience this that much because I'm usually the one showing off the games, and I do my best to try not to.
I think that's important, especially when teaching games, because I feel like you've played the game, you know some of the strategies, and so you know some good and bad moves. And I think it's important, unless the person is asking you specifically for that feedback, to just let people discover it on their own to an extent, right? Unless it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, you're going to end the game right now, and it's gonna be a horrible experience for everyone, then sure, jump in. But if it's just gonna be a loss, I don't know. And I think that's one point I want to bring up, Bairnt, that Terry mentioned is there's not every game. Okay, so let me say this first. The concept of alpha gaming, I don't think it is part of the mechanisms in a game. I think a game enables alpha gaming to happen, but alpha gaming doesn't happen without a certain group set, right? The players at the table. So, to have the recipe for that, and you mentioned one of them here, is challenging game. A super, super challenging game means if the group makes a mistake, well, guess what? Now you're going to lose. So that draws that desire to be like, hey, we have to all do this thing. If we don't all do this thing or do this plan, we're going to lose the game.
Mm-hmm.
So... so that video is what alerted me to this game, and I late pledged for the second, so that's Bairnt's fault. There you go, Bairnt. Snow's blaming you for that. So,
welcome to, is it Beano Cliff? Did I say that right?
Oh, Benno, yeah. I like the concept of talking about a game as a case study for a broader topic. Yeah, we're honestly the format of co-op chat here. It's kind of open ended. We're kind of just like, hey, we want to talk about this thing. But we also want to spotlight old games, so these kind of work together as a topic. So, but what we discuss here is entirely up to you guys. Like, you guys let us know, honestly, what you want us to happen. This is just the talking head segments, right? I will always do the news. Just say, hey, here's new stuff coming out. Just here, just
that he does the news that I go and back it on Tuesday.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so I think you're right on that aspect of it for sure. And I think the other pieces are open information. If everything is open information, that's another recipe for having alpha gaming happen, right? If you have hidden information, then obviously you don't. Not one person's all information can say, hey, here's the plan A, B, C, D, let's do it. The other thing I want to mention too is I've played with a lot of different people over the years, and one thing that became very clear to me early on was some folks really enjoy the aspect of discovering the strategies for themselves, and they don't want that part spoiled. Like, you can tell them about how the game plays, like the rules wise, no big deal, but like, oh wait, if you combine this card with this card, this is really good strategy, and some people just really don't like that. That's part of that. That's what makes it fun for them, and so that's why alpha gaming can be a very negative connotation because it's like, oh yeah, here's a good strategy, dude. You do that. I'm like, well, why'd you tell me that? I want to experience it for myself, right? So
yeah.
So Snow mentioned sometimes it's difficult not to alpha game if you're not aware of the concept. Like, you discuss what to do next, and people just take your word for it instead of coming with more ideas.
That can be true. I've had games a lot of times when it comes to alpha gaming versus not alpha gaming. It's usually with my wife because I've played the game a few times. She's never played it before, and usually during the week I'd play some games, and then I'll be like on weekends. Usually when we get together, maybe play a game together, and be like,
Mhm.
we're gonna try like last one was Mars Ares Expedition. I'm like, let's do Mars Ares Expedition. And she's like, okay. So I played it on my channel already. I played it with Colin a couple times, so I didn't know what this game was all about. But when it first started, I'd be like, I explained kind of here's what the cards do, here's what that does, and then she sat there with like the 5 cards, she's like, what would you do? I'm like, okay, so let me explain kind of what I would, and then I'd give her some options and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like, do this with this. But even sometimes there's a point where she just looks at me and goes like, I don't quite get it. What would you do? Can you just tell me what you would do? And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. Now then I'd step in and kind of do an alpha game type role, at least for that turn. Then she's like, okay, I think I get where you're going with this and why that happens. Like even with Fuse, I had to demonstrate, like I actually had to physically do a couple of the turns, like, oh, okay. I mean, and they're like, oh, and the guy and my friend and my wife like, totally get it now. Thank you for showing. I'm like, okay, now we got it. So I don't
And
know if
I
that makes.
no, I think that's an excellent point and something that I've thought about as well and try to do is if people are asking for advice about a game or what to do in a particular game state, I think it's a really awesome idea to like, hey, lay out a few options, right? Don't tell them which
Mm,
one to pick, but like here's a few, and even just give them some good options. That way, they're still making decisions. So you want to give it in their hands. Um, the important thing is for alpha gaming, I think you have to be if you have a tendency with that, you have to be okay with losing, right? It's okay to lose a game. It's not a big deal, right? These are just games, right? So,
yeah, I got
um,
some in there.
yeah. Let's see. Ben
It goes
mentioned. Oh,
very true, very true. Like by the end of Mars Ares Expedition, my wife was like, "Okay," I go, "So should I play this card?" She goes, "No, you need to play this card so I can play this card." It's like, okay, she's figuring this out. This is awesome.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right. So yeah, I mean, of course, that's not very. There's not a lot in that game that is super different about it.
right.
But anyway, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. So Ben another comment here says, "Yep, open information, fully aligned in game motivations and goals, and shared win one more, lose one more conditions will tend toward alpha. Hard to grok rules maybe too. I don't know if rules necessarily are alpha gaming. Rules are just you're telling people how the game works, but not telling them what to do. And I think it's a small distinction, but I think it's an important distinction, right? Because the reason why people don't like alpha gaming is because you are removing the decision points from them, right? And that is what is important to avoid.
Yes, if Snow said hi to my son. I'm like, yes, my son always seems to make an appearance. Go up chat.
You used to be part of the show.
Yeah.
My son
Uh,
has almost made an appearance too a few times. So, but yep, it's just us in front of the camera. That's how
I
it
think
goes.
distinction when it comes to alpha gaming is when you got the person that's not just necessarily teaching the game and giving a couple rounds of how to do it, but by turn 32, they're like, I'm gonna move my guy over here. And the guy's like, no, that's not gonna be the best. He should go over here so he can do something. And like turn 32, and the guy's like, but that point, the person kind of knows the game, kind of has the idea of what they're planning to do, and maybe the alpha gamer doesn't exactly like. Well, in 3 turns, I was going to do it like this. Oh, well, okay. Well, you aren't going to get there in 3 turns. This is going to do. So you know what I mean? Is that I think that's where a lot of the I think that's where a lot of the negativity of alpha gamer comes in. And I know from my point of view, and I think Steve, and I think a lot of us do, especially in the co-op group here, that is the thing we try to avoid the most because we hate to be seeing people lose that ability to have fun in a game, even if it means you lose. I mean, Machina Arcana can be up to 2 to 4 hours long, and I have sat there and played this game and then watched somebody go, "I'm going to go over here and do this." I'm like, oh, that's not going to be good. And I'm like, and I'll just kind of say, are you sure? Here are some other options. He's like, no, I'm going to do that. Okay, go have fun. See what happens. Oh, the Blair blew up and I'm dead. Yep, it did. That's how it goes.
I will say though, like I've had instances where like, oh man, they're going to do the oil, don't go near the oil drum. That's gonna be bad. But there's especially in the game if there's a chance that something good, like something fun, could happen of it, something crazy. That
Yeah.
makes it all worthwhile. That makes it worthwhile to let people have this decision to see those
Yep.
times where like I'm pretty sure that's a bad idea, but somehow they made it work, right? And that's really fun to see. Hey Ryan, thanks for joining. Welcome. Um, for sure, Baron. Overextended alpha is the second worst. Yeah. Now, Yeah, it's because it's interesting because you're talking about like strategy of where to go. Like it's tough, right? Because you at some point be like, hey, I'm gonna go here, here, and here. I need to go here, 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 right? We need to have this plan together, this collective plan. So at some point you do get into that a little bit, but I think it's important to make sure that you pause and let other people interject, right, with their own thoughts and plans as you go forward with it. You'll see you'll see on the streams a lot. Um, Kim likes to just like run through rooms, just like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. Like, are you sure? Like, yep, okay, just do it. It's
Okay.
fine. I just died. Like, yep, we'll just restart the game. It's fine. So we've done on the stream a few
No, look,
times.
no, looks like she's had experiences similar to where somebody works really hard, tries near right before you know the person's probably gonna do something bad. You're like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And they do, and they're like, "Okay."
Yes,
then,
yes,
then, then that results in you making a new character.
yes. Oh, worst being when people alpha in a competitive game.
That's
Oh,
tougher because I don't have a lot of experience in this. The last competitive game I think I played might have been Monopoly, and I didn't. No, I'm kidding. I haven't. I've played competitive games, and I just don't play them very often. A lot of the times, the people I play games with, we don't play competitive games mainly because their way of winning a competitive game is to instantly attack and destroy and crush the dreams of the person who owns the game because they obviously know all the rules and are best at the game. So that's usually me, and I don't feel like getting ganged up on 3-on-1.
it's funny how that works, but that's so true in this hobby. Like I played games with a new couple. I've never played games before, and it always happens where if you own the game or if you have a big board game collection or you're in the hobby like we are, they assume that we're good at games and we win all the time.
Yeah,
Which is, if you
not
watch
right.
any of Bairnt's streams or my streams or videos, you know that's not true. We
No.
lose all the time. But it's funny because you're exactly right. They do tend to like, okay, if I'm going to pick on someone, I'm going to pick on you, right? You're going to be on you lose. So, yep, for sure.
So
Oh,
I haven't.
interesting. Alpha Gaming Chess, what Snow said. Are you sure you want to move there? Because I can pin you here and take your piece here. And it's so annoying because it locks you into the mindset and you overlook other dangers. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I just let people play chess and make the wrong moves, and I just whoop them.
Nice.
I will say that the only person I've played chess, the only one I played chess against is my son, and I'm still teaching him. So in that regard, yes, I'll do say like, "Are you sure you want to move there?" Because I'll show you what I have the knight here that can take that guy. Oh,
Right,
okay.
right.
Then I'm not going to do that. But when I play my cousin or my nephew in chess, I let him move wherever he wants because my sister keeps telling me, "Oh, he's really good at chess." And I'm like, "Oh wait," he'll do something like, well, I'm gonna go take that piece. Boom. Oh, yep. Too bad for you. Learning experience. Learn by losing.
Learn
That's
by
another one.
losing. That's right. So yeah, those are the points I want to bring up. I felt like the recipes for it were open information, challenging game, right, where you kind of have to work together. I think those are the two main things I'm bringing about for allowing alpha gaming. But like, it doesn't exist without the players at the table um, fostering it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh yeah,
What about
Benno mentioned
how
about
about
it's
that?
rough when
I didn't
you're
think about that.
playing 101 and the crowd shows up and starts commenting. Yeah, that's true.
I
Uh,
didn't think about that. You have an outside alpha gamer in for you.
oh yeah, for sure. That's yeah. What do you do in that situation? I don't
Well,
know. That's a tough one.
that is tough. I mean, I guess nicely, politely say like I'm going to play it my way. I mean, that's really rough. I mean, I've done it. I shouldn't say I've done that. I've gone over and watched people playing it, but I keep my mouth shut, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can do that? Are you sure? I don't think that's going to be good. But I never say anything. I just watch because maybe he's got a plan that I didn't know about, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's okay. At least in my experiences, when you're playing a game with someone and you're like into it for a while, and there is a good point to bring up. Like, hey, by the way, if you do X, Y, Z, it'll lead to this, right? You're not necessarily telling them, hey, do X, Y, Z. Just like pointing out these things, right? As long as you do it sparingly, right? You don't want to be like, every turn, like, oh, if you do this, if you do this, if you do this, then you're basically like telling them what to do, right? So that's the main thing, is letting people bring up these points and let them do what they want.
Hmm.
So Ryan mentioned, when my wife and I play, I'm generally more invested and engaged in the game, so it's hard to not alpha game. Usually she doesn't mind because she's just there to spend time, but I feel bad doing it. Yeah, that's hard. That's hard sometimes. Um,
My wife is too competitive. I told her what to do. She'd probably not want to play the game again.
yeah.
She likes to. She doesn't mind losing. Oh, actually, no, I lied. She does not like losing. And if she loses, she tries again. Like, I'm sure I've told you my Robinson Crusoe story where we tried to do the Robinson Crusoe 3 times, and by the third time, she was determined. First time we lost. Second time we lost. She the next after we lost, the next day she woke up. She's like, "You're putting that back on the table tonight, right?" Sure. And so we did it again. We played our third game, and we won. We made it through, and I poloed Colin, or I texted Colin and kind of said, "So here's what happened. Did we win, or do we have to do this?" He says, "No, you've got to go out. You didn't win." And Robin's like, "No!" You hear in the background just screaming, tell him he's a liar."
That's a liar.
So it was out on the table the next day. But it's and in games like that, we work together, and obviously it's a co-op game. If people haven't played Robinson Crusoe, go buy it right now and play it. It's fantastic.
Great
It's one
game.
of Steve's, I think, top 5 games. And it's fantastic, lots of fun. But it's really, again, it's a tough game. And again, you could definitely see some alpha gaming in that one, because again, no hidden information, and and I could be telling her everything to do. But the good news is I don't know what to do. So it worked out really well.
So from a game perspective, I think it's also possible that if the game has enough moving pieces and parts, just a lot going on, it also mitigates the option of alpha gaming, right? Not one person can figure out all the pieces of the puzzle. Like, um, U-Boat. It's a game that is a big real time game. Oh, real time, by the way, is also makes it really hard too, because it's real time. You can't sit down and think about the plans in a lot of detail sometimes. You just kind of have to go with it. But in that one, there are 4 different roles, and all the roles are very involved with what they're doing. There's no way you could tell people what to do in that game, just because there's just too much happening. And other complex games like well, Spirit Island has hands of cards, so somewhat closed information. But like that one, like if you played open hand in that one, like I play the game a ton. I love that game. It's a fantastic game. There's no way I could tell you how to play your character. There's just too many things going on in the game. Cool. This was a good chat.
Snow is awesome.
Yeah, you guys are awesome, Ben, on Snow and and Ryan.
But random people pitching in and how you should play the game are annoying. It should be eradicated. But actually, Bino, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, brings up a really good point. After the game's over, being able to discuss kind of, hey, these are some things we could have done different. This is what could have happened. This is like explaining strategies and stuff after a game is over. That's a really good idea. That definitely gets from alpha game. It's a way to at least prevent yourself from being an alpha gamer. Be like, they're gonna get us killed. Oh well, that's gonna be fine. And then after we're done, I'll leave the board up and be like, remember 3 turns ago when we could have done this? Just a heads up, this could have been something that you could have thought about. Like, and I think that's kind of what he's saying. Maybe I'm catching what he's saying wrong, but that's a fantastic plan. I haven't even tried that one. We lose, and my wife like flips the table. No, she doesn't flip the table. And a lot of times when we lose, I don't even remember why we lost. I'm just like, oh no, we lost.
Right. So Snow had an interesting point here. It says one problem with games trying to prevent alpha gaming is that it elbows away solo gamers from playing the co-op game by themselves, which is her personal beef. So that's interesting. And I assume what you mean here is playing two-handed. I assume, because if you play a true solo one hand, it shouldn't make a difference in that regard. But I can just see two-handed being a thing. And I think one interesting example of it is Mechs vs. Minions, which is a programming game where you're drafting cards. I know in that game they added a timer, and it's kind of an optional timer during the drafting phase. I think they did that to help avoid alpha gaming and also keep the game moving. But you can choose not to play with that if you don't have that problem in the group. So, hey Trajan, I haven't seen you here before. Greetings, I'm glad you're here from Germany. Machina Arcana is your favorite dungeon crawler ever. That is awesome. I need to play this game. Between you and Snow and Bairnt.
He's been chatting with me every once in a while. It's great to see him on. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
From Germany even. That's awesome. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I'll be doing Machina Arcana or Machina Arcana again soon, as soon as the third edition arrives. It's interesting because when I did the first one, Colin did the second one, and I was supposed to do the third one. And right when I was about to think about doing the third one, they were really getting close to getting done, and shipping and production, everything was going to get done. Of course, I think some of it's kind of slowed down. We had every gaming company's kind of experiencing the same kind of woes of the shippings and productions and stuff. And so I'm waiting for that third edition to come out to show the differences, and then I'm going to be playing the third scenario. So we are hoping to be bouncing that game back and forth again. I don't think he's going to do the fourth one, but we're going to do the base core 3, and then I might do another expansion one in there, because some of the expansions actually have material that is not in the base game. It has like actual enemies for that scenario, and they have events for that scenario, which is something I didn't mention. They actually, it's really cool because each scenario kind of has its own events thrown into a kind of a base deck of horror events and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. Kind of keeps the game fresh and alive.
Cool. Well, I think we need to talk offline here and try to figure out if we can add a Machina Arcana into extra life games. That'd be kind of fun. So
we did last year.
We do again this year. That'd be fun.
I just might do the same 2 games I did last year. I'll do that one, and I'll do the Aliens game.
We have to.
Pretty good.
Oh, I didn't put that in the list. We have to play Aliens game again. That was.
We have to do that at the end, just the last game again. That was so much fun. Just do it as the last thing. It's like, because there's barely any rules. You just move and you die, or you live. One of the two.
I was in tears laughing so hard for that play. It was so good.
So good.
So good. Cool. I think I'm good about wrapping this up. I do think Benno had an awesome comment here. I want to pull up a quick summary of what we discussed. It says anti-alpha gaming options. He says number 1, many moving parts. Yep, I agree. It's a lot of things going on. It's hard to like figure out the best optimal solution. 2, hidden information. If you don't have all the information, you can't figure out the optimal solution. And 3, equal game familiarity, which is what you mentioned a little bit with Bairnt, with Robinson Crusoe. Like, if we all know the game equally well, then everyone can equally contribute to the strategies. That's a really good point. I don't think it has been explicitly stated since we've been chatting. Oh, and Thomas is here, said, just play devil's advocate. One good thing about alpha gamers is that when things go horribly awry and everyone dies, theirs can all point to the alpha and say, "This is your fault."
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yep, good one. Thank you, Thomas, for that. So,
I don't know if it matters, but another way to prevent alpha gaming is when there's stuff that you have to make choices over, or there's things you need to read to decide. I've actually handed that off to people and be like, "Hey, can you read this?" And then they'll read and be like, "What should we do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Why don't you make the choice and see what happens?" Kind of thing. That's another. I've done that before as well. It's kind of like pass off the things that you need to make choices on, and then they can do those. Like for any kind of like the app games and things, I've done that where I would just give the app, or it's a book thing that has reading, and then not necessarily. I'm not saying like if it's choose your own adventure, you just hand the book to the person and read the book. No, it's like games that have like where you make a choice and then it happens in the game. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does make sense. It makes sense. Like it's all about making sure everyone's making their own decisions, right? Because to be honest, like, why do we play board games in the first place? Honestly, it is the decision points. That's what makes games interesting. So, absolutely. Cool. I think.
Yeah, you had the first and second edition. That's amazing. I only have the second edition, and I'm excited for
it. I got to take a look at that. So, cool. Okay, guys. I think that's probably going to wrap up this week's chat. If you have requests for next week, let us know in the comments below or on our Discord. We're always open for whatever you guys want to hear. It'll be a fun chat.
Because what we like to chat about is usually what you guys like to chat about. Yeah. So it's always fun to be able to look at this. This is amazing. We had a great chat today.
I know, you guys are awesome.
You guys are amazing. You brought up some amazing points. And I think the main point we can come away from this is Steve is going to play Machina Arcana, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to not alpha game him. That's what we came up with today.
You're one of the best people to not alpha game. Every time I play with you, I'm like, "Oh, you should do this." And you're like, "Yeah, whatever. Do it. It's fine.
Give it a shot."
Okay.
See what happens. We'll try to rectify that situation 3 turns later.
Exactly. Cool. Okay. Well, it's been a blast, guys. Thanks for joining. You guys are awesome who've jumped on the chat. We really appreciate it. Real quick on upcoming stuff. I think The next stream on this channel is going to be Street Masters with Kim and I. So that's going to be happening Monday. We're just loving that game, so we're going to play a bit here. And yes, I await Steve jumping in the pit of blowing myself up with a barrel,
That's right.
which would probably be. I think more likely is Kim blowing me up after last week's Street Masters game. So we'll see what happens there. So,
And I
closing
think
questions. What? Oh, here's a good one, real quick. What games are most least alpha prone? Ooh.
I love how we both just stare at the camera.
Yeah.
Alpha prone.
I've heard pandemic when the first games that when I heard the term alpha gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think pandemic necessarily it has the enabling factors for alpha gaming, but it doesn't have to be there, right? So
Yeah, brain freeze. We all stood there.
yeah.
I think a lot of that comes back to what we were discussing earlier. If you have a lot of things that don't, if the points that we brought up aren't in the game, you can find alpha gaming. I could see where pandemic could be one because there really is only one mechanic that's really functioning around the board,
Right.
and you could easily. I mean, we're right now in the game of Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and I could easily see where I'm playing with Colin and a couple friends, and we could easily see how that it could be if we wanted to. I mean, like, there's even times where I'm about to do a move, and I'll look over at Brent and be like, "Is this the best move, man?" And he'll be like, "I think so. I can't," because he's a really good thinker and like being able to see things moving around the board better than I am. And so I'm like, "Is it?" And I'll even ask him like, "Is that the best move, man?" He's like, "I think so. I don't know. Let's all do it." Like, okay, because of course you never know with the deck coming out what's going to happen. But at the and so it's and I think that would be the hard part. I don't know. I can't think of one that's most prone. I think any co-op game can really be it's prone to it if you have the wrong environment.
Yeah, Snowman had an interesting comment. So pandemic is prone to alpha gaming because it's so easy rules wise. I think is
Yeah.
kind of true. I agree, but like the example that makes me wonder about that is Marvel United. Marvel United has like the simplest rule set out there. It's like stupid easy, like rules wise,
Mm-hmm.
and you can easily play open handed with all the cards on the table. I've done that a
Yeah,
lot, honestly.
that's how I teach the game, and that's how I play with my kid.
Right, but in that one, I think because every card you play is so interconnected, I don't feel that alpha gaming happens very often. I feel like, or maybe it's easy enough where like okay, this seems like a really good option, everyone agrees on it, but there's no one right solution because there's so many interconnected things that can happen. Oh, the other thing I want to mention about the pandemic thing is Defenders of the Realm is an older game, not well loved by lots of people to be honest, but one that I particularly enjoy, and it has a very pandemic feel to it. But one thing it did differently, compared to pandemic, is each person has an active quest. This is something that only they can do, and it gives them some special bonus. And it's interesting when you add that element to the game. It feels like yes, we can align to this overall goal of winning the game, but there's a side goal which doesn't actively help the game. But if I do it, it will lead to a long term, making the game easier long term, right? Because I have more tools at my disposal, which is an interesting way of approaching alpha gaming.
I like the hidden trader games like Betrayal and Battlestar are perhaps least alpha gamed. You want to know a funny story about that? We were playing. What was it? I have it up here. Dead of Winter, and I was teaching it to my family, and I got the trader card. Guess who alpha gamed the crap out of that to win? No, I'm kind of kidding it away, but I was like saying, I was pointing people in directions of like, well, so you could do this. And so of course at the end I was like, I was the bad guy, guys. I'm sorry. Like, oh, you're doing all these things. So next time we played, I was like, okay. They're like, whenever I decide to like, okay, so one thing you could do, like, no, man, I'm not doing that. They totally thought I
Don't trust you anymore.
And I'm like, no, this time for real. This is probably a better, like one of these three options is a good one. Nope, I'm doing this fourth option. Okay.
Also, the turns in pandemic can be AP prone, and since you're waiting long for your turns, especially with 5 players, yeah, you get bored with ideas. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, if you got a long downtime, you have a lot of time to figure out optimal plays. So
It's very true. It's just like when you're watching anything else. I mean, if I'll be watching streams of people, I'm watching, for example, Colin playing a board game. He'll be doing something like, oh man, like, and it's happened to me many times. Like I'll be doing something and I'll be even editing my own video, going like, how did I miss that? And like, I have to put like a subtitle. I totally did that wrong, or like, I can't believe I made that move, kind of thing. But in the spur of the moment, when you're actually playing the game, a lot of the stuff you should be thinking about, you might not even realize is going on. So, like Steve said, if you're not the one in the moment, it's easier to see stuff around that your blinders are off your eyes, and you can have more peripheral vision.
So, no, other interesting comment here, real quick. It's useless to think about your turn since the game changes a lot. That's
Yeah.
another good point. Like, it'd be real hard alpha game if between two turns the game state changes in drastic ways or significant ways. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, like Nemesis. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my god,
I
that's
also
it! That's Zeno!
it's
Quick,
so good.
run, hide!
I'm just gonna go over here. Oh, you sure you want to go over there? Because we need to get to the engines. Oh, well, never mind. The Queen Eagle's over there. That's over there. Run!
Cool.
Anyway,
Okay,
Steve.
this was an awesome stream. You guys are fantastic. It's like, oh yeah, we're done. Oh, good comment. Let's keep going.
Yeah, hey, check that out. You guys are awesome.
Squirrel.
This is what we talk about. We just keep on chatting sometimes. And thank you so much for everything you guys bring up. It's amazing.
Absolutely, guys. Cool. Well, we'll see you guys next week. And
make sure let us know in the comments if there's anything you wish for us to chit chat about. Maybe a game or a type of game or a type of mechanic or a little bit of both. Or like even a game and we can maybe think of a mechanic that goes with it, or a mechanic and think of a game that goes with it.
Definitely. Sounds good. Well, thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you at the next stop. Bye-bye.
Take